All right, Sean Callahan here with Nebraska wide receivers coach Garret McGuire, just wrapping up a satellite camp here in Belton, Texas. Coach, for you, being a kid that played high school ball in Texas, son of a Texas high school coach, how special is it for you to be working a camp down in your old state?
Oh, dream come true. Seriously, I'm under the Texas heat. I'm a little bit more adapted to it than probably all these guys. But, just talking with some of these high school kids, asking how summer's going, how their coach is doing, how spring ended up, just conversations like that, I just eat it up, honestly.
Just when you go in the state of Texas, just your connections and family name and just the people you know, how many doors can that open up for you just with the connections you already have at the state?
Oh, it's awesome, and then, you talk about obviously what my dad did when he was a high school coach, but then the impact that Coach Rule had in just his 3 years at Baylor is just unbelievable. And then the next one was we got an analyst, Josh Martin, whose dad is Joe Martin, who's the head of the THSCA, actually started up in 2003. And he was living with me for 2 months. So I'm in Central Texas, and I'm like, yeah, Josh Martin's my roommate, or I'm down in San Antonio. And seriously, eyes lit up, oh gosh, coach, da da da, so that's pretty cool. Just all the little connections, and then obviously everyone talks about Doc and Coach Wade, so it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, and for you, what's got to be really fun is you're going head to head in recruiting against your dad.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yeah, we're going to compete a little bit on some kids. There's 2 or 3 that they're in on that were here this past weekend, and I was like, we're on the phone yesterday before the flight, and I was like, yeah, I ain't telling you any of my secrets, bro, So, but we're being competitive. The thing is it's all about the kids, between us and Tech. It's just all about the players, because we're going to preach the same thing, right? When it comes to our brand, our process, our plan to win, what we envision off the field for them and the off the field success, what we want to do in 40 years for them, and everything leading up to it. So it's really just turns out to how does that kid fit in to that school? It's never going to end up being, well, I like Coach McGuire versus I like Coach Rule more. No, those 2 guys are just, elite people. So it's very hard to pick from that.
It's interesting, the recruiting formula that Texas Tech follows. It's really similar to what Coach Cooper and Coach Rule do. Mm-hmm. How much did your dad take some of the philosophies that Coach Cooper and Rule and you guys do here, and they use those same ones that appears down in Lubbock?
Right. Yes, sir. It's the exact same. And, when it comes down to we want big, long, fast guys. We're not going to chase stars. We're going to chase developmental traits, guys that are long and can run, and we'll put the weight on them, and we can develop them football-wise, and then next thing you know, we'll develop them into men. And so we both follow that same path. That's why usually when you see Tech offer, you see Nebraska offer, or vice versa. But that's just what we believe in. It's just our process.
What is your numbers for receiver? How many receivers ideally, if it all goes well, how many can you take this year?
I'm not sure. If it was down today, probably 3. But that number always changes, because we're not ever going to turn down speed. And we'll never turn down a guy that can play for us, seriously. So we're going to make it work on our roster one way or another.
It's kind of like Jalen Lloyd, Bryce Turner, right. Eric Fields. You found room for those guys.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And all 3 of those guys can run, right? So that's kind of why. And already I'm excited as to what Jalen's doing, as what Bryce is doing. And you watch Eric move around out there, just athletic guys.
The transition for you to become a full-time coach, has it been seamless? Has there been challenges? What's been kind of run us through what it's been like for the last few months for you?
No, it's been pretty good. I always go back to when it comes to the football's a football. So that wasn't a ton of change for me. Working with Coach Sat and Coach Rule and being around them, we all speak the same language. So that helps me a lot. Learning from them, and I got to see it as a player. I got to see it when I was a high school coach's son, the recruiting part. So that also came a little bit more natural to me. Now that's more the learning curve that I'm still working through. It's just the actual getting into schools, recruiting, right, evaluating, doing it the way we do it. But other than that, it's been pretty good. And I got an older veteran room too. That's it's fun. They're fun to coach. Shoot, they are really, really fun to coach.
I'm curious if you know this. How many different Texas high schools did you step foot in the spring evaluation?
I stepped into 62 Texas high schools, and then I spent 3 days out on, I spent 5 days out of the state. So that was only in 12 days.
So 62 high schools in 12 days,
yes,
and you were out for 17
yes,
days.
Sir. Yes, sir.
So is that kind of your formula? You want to get in as many as you can?
Right. Yes, sir. I'm trying to, just go see all the coaches and go see all the players that we can. And, some of those schools we ended up revisiting just to show the kids love and Make sure they're kind of seeing a lot. Like, I'm always going to stop into DeSoto as much as I can. Duncanville, Cedar Hill, Lancaster, you stay on Beltline, you're in pretty good shape. So it was a lot of evaluating when it comes to like, hey, maybe this is a day I go to South Texas, or hey, this is a day I go east. So you still had to go see the kids, but I also wanted to go see the big-time coaches in those areas.
Do you know, if you had to guess, how many total Texas high schools between Coach Wager and Coach Knighton do you think you guys hit? Do you guys maybe close to 200?
Yeah, easily 200, because Coach Wags will fly, right? I'll end up getting stuck at a school for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, like, shoot, right down the road in Temple, Texas. I got to block out about half of my day to go hang out with Coach Stewart. That's my guy, so I'll end up staying and hanging out. I'll watch all his practices and all that stuff. But like Coach Wags, he grinds.
He can go 8 or 10.
No doubt.
Hey, well, Coach, appreciate you taking the time. We'll see you out in Houston on Tuesday.
Right. Yes, sir. Thank you all.